Wait, a team from the little old ACC just beat out the mighty SEC for the #1 recruit in America.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Shout out to the everydayers, and thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. He is Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. I am Alex Donno from Locked On Canes. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Today on Locked On ACC, we'll talk about what Dabo Sweeney wants, and this is actually an interesting idea in terms of the college football calendar. Revolutionary idea, I might say. I was going to lead off with this, but I didn't want to make Kenton too angry. Bill Belichick shocked the college football world at ACC spring meetings this week. But let's talk about the #1 rated recruit in America, Kenton, has, this is not just a victory lap on my part because I'm the Locked On Canes guy, but I think it is significant when most of the signs up until Tuesday afternoon were pointing #1 recruit, offensive tackle Jackson Cantwell. Most of the signs were pointing to him at Georgia. Like I was even basically waving the white flag of surrender on the Miami side. Seems like he was going to be a dog. Then a few hours before his announcement, all of a sudden the tide started turning. Predictions started to flip in Miami's favor. And Miami landed Jackson Cantwell, 6'7.5", 325-pound offensive lineman out of Nixa, Missouri. And Kenton, the craziness on my Locked On Canes episode this morning, I had not a Georgia fan, an Alabama fan in my comments caping up for the SEC. Like, Miami just bought him. They just paid for him. Like, sir, you're an Alabama fan. You're caping up for Georgia. He was probably chanting SEC at the moment.
I think there is no greater spot in all of college sports where fans and media members alike put their hypocrisy on full display than with recruiting of any sort. I don't care if it's in the portal. I don't care if it's high school, because when a kid picks your school, oh, he came because he loves good old state. He came because he loves our player development. He loves our coaches. He loves our culture. He loves the campus. He just loves whatever the food place is in your state or whatever. He just loves a cookout or Bowberry biscuits. He just loves it. He just loves it. Whatever you got down in there in Miami, he just loves it. He loves a Cuban. Nobody has better Cubans than he loves it. Nobody makes a sandwich like you. But whenever they go somewhere else, oh, well, it was all about the money. A bag chaser supreme he is. Oh, just going and chasing the bag. Stop it. These young men are making the best decision for their future. Some of them, their long-term future. Some of them, their immediate future. Some of them, a combination of both. But what we cannot do and what we should stop doing, stop being losers about, looking at you, little Alabama fan, whoever you are, looking at you, any fans of any teams, because I have said multiple times, me and Grayson Boone have gotten into it on Locked On Wolfpack about this, because when somebody, I believe it was a power forward named Mbako that went from everybody crystal ball in the NC State to Texas A&M, and he said the bag man came. And I said, it doesn't matter why he went. What matters to me, that young man chose what was best for him. I don't know why he went. Everybody accused NC State of getting Mr. Scott from Louisville into the portal and said, oh, they enticed him with the money and a big offer. He didn't even end up going to State. The guy didn't even end up going to State. State ends up getting the center from Senegal. So this is what I mean by, again, let's stop all this finger pointing it. He's taking money. They're just offering money whenever a guy goes to a school besides yours. Cantwell has a long history of player development that he could lean on and say, hey, Maui Noah is going to be a top 20 pick next year at worst. I think that's pretty good. Hey, they've developed some offensive linemen at Oregon as well. That's pretty good, and that's where I want to be. So let's stop all this. Oh, if they go to a program that's not mine, it's just they just came with the bigger bag.
Yeah, and all this to say, we're not saying money isn't part of the equation. It is. It's a big part of the equation, right? I mean, if if you work a job and we love the Locked On Network, Kenton, but if if ESPN were to say, hey, you can do the same thing over here, we're going to pay 2 times as much, that is part of how the world works. But as far as like the idea that and I'm sure Miami had an excellent NIL offer for Cantwell because Mario Cristobal loves his offensive linemen, but that's the other part of it. Like this idea that he would choose Miami strictly for the money. I could at least entertain that argument if he played any other position. But we're talking about an offensive tackle. So you think the number one offensive tackle in the country is going to choose Miami only because the money is right? Everything else there is terrible, but they're paying me more money than anyone else. But that's ignoring the fact that, as you mentioned, I mean, Miami probably the most offensive line-centric program in the entire country because the head coach, Mario Cristobal, is like a second offensive line coach, a former offensive line coach. Miami's actual offensive line coach, Alex Mirabal, someone who helped Cristobal develop Penei Sewell at Oregon, someone who has helped develop, you mentioned CeCe Mauigoa, Francis Mauigoa. He's probably going to be a top 20 pick in next year's draft. So it's not as if you're picking a place where, hey, the money is right. Too bad I'm not going to develop there, but at least I'm getting paid. No, both of those things can be true. And another part of it, Kenton, I know for Jackson Cantwell, when you're the number one recruit in America, obviously this guy is not going to want to sit on the bench and just learn, right? So the opportunity at Miami, given Miami is likely to lose their starting right tackle next year to the NFL draft, Mauigoa, probably will also lose their starting left tackle, Markel Bell, to the draft. You're going to have 2 offensive tackle spots open. Jackson Cantwell is going to have every opportunity to grab and win one of those spots in his first year. So you also have the opportunity at Miami to play immediately.
Absolutely. But the playing time, the player development. Let me ask you, Donno. Actually, I won't even ask you because you're from Miami. You're a Miami guy, so you may be biased in this. If somebody asks 18-year-old Kenton, where would you rather be? Athens, Georgia, or Miami at the age of 18? I'm going to make you a millionaire, either one. Athens or Miami, where would you rather be? That's not even hard. It's not even a thought. It's not what. Hey, it's been real. It's been fun. I'm out. I'll see y'all boys on the beach. I'll see y'all boys. Hey, listen, don't worry about it. We're good here. Again, there are a myriad of reasons why these young men make the decisions they make. Like you said, is money a factor? Absolutely. But there is many reasons outside that. And then here's my biggest point in all this that I haven't even got to yet. Even if it is about money. And?
Yeah, fair.
But you, listener, right now, if your job offered you more money than, or if a new job offered you more money than your current job was offering you, couldn't even come, your current job could not come close. Virtually the exact same situation in terms of commute, virtually the exact same situation in terms of team chemistry, great team, all that good stuff, good people. You'll be working with great people at either job, so it's not like you're going into, from wonderful people to some cutthroat Shark Tank where everybody's trying to slit your throat. Everything virtually the same, but one job offers you more than the other. Let's not even say 2 times as much. If they offered you 30% more, you would be gone, wouldn't you? I'm sorry.
As long as I knew, like you said, as long as I knew I'm not going into a terrible situation, yeah, I'm with you on that.
And listen, for the right amount, you can send me into a terrible situation. We'll be all right. We'll be okay. But in all seriousness, why is it that everybody else, if you or I, like you talked about, if ESPN gave us the call, right? If Fox Sports gave us the call, nobody would say, oh, Donno's a terrible person. He's a bag chaser. If somebody told David Locke, hey, we've got 2 new ACC hosts for you, and we are guaranteeing you that they're going to quadruple what Kenton and Donno were doing, but you got to kick them off. Do you think he would hesitate? And again, I wouldn't call him a bad person for it. I'd say,
I wouldn't be mad.
If they guarantee you quadruple what me and Donno are doing for the same rate, I can't be mad at you. So again, this number one, I hate the fact that it's always you're a bag chaser if a player goes somewhere else. And number 2, eggs are damn $6 a carton right now. So what if somebody wants to go chase a bag or 2? Do it. Go ahead.
So you're telling me Jackson Cantwell can afford to eat eggs again. This is great news. Well, coming
He can
up
afford to make
next,
a couple omelets. Yeah, couple omelets.
a few, like a 10-egg omelet. Coming up next, here's how Bill Belichick shocked the college football world when he arrived at the ACC spring meetings. You want to keep it locked. The NBA playoffs are in full swing. Every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. I've been all over the Stanley Cup playoffs as well, betting on my Florida Panthers, and FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game. Before tip-off and live, with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Folks, the live betting is a game changer because you may have insights after the game starts, even though you were unsure before tip-off. And whether you're an experienced sports bettor or a rookie looking to get into it, FanDuel is so awesome and so user-friendly. And if you are new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen. For your next listen, make sure you check out Locked On Wolfpack, hosted by Kenton, Gibbs, and Grayson Boone. Do an awesome job taking you around the NC State Wolfpack, or check out Locked On Canes. I've certainly had some Jackson Cantwell content on the last couple of days. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts, and we're available free on YouTube. So I don't know, Kenton, when Bill Belichick showed up at the ACC spring meetings, did you think he was going to show up as he's done, recent interviews and functions the last couple of months? Did you think the girlfriend Jordan Hudson would be with him? Would that have been your guess?
Donno, I'm not surprised by this at all. At the end of the day, this is something that clearly had to happen. This is something where we are at a point where this thing damn near reached critical mass. What do I mean by critical mass? Critical mass means somebody's getting fired. That's what critical mass is for off-the-field incidents, where it's like, hey, we can't have this at our program anymore. And we were at the brink of that with Bill Belichick, whether or not people want to realize that. So with that in mind, when you're getting into all this speculation and you're getting these TMZ-style reports about whether or not she's banned or whether or not she's allowed, the best thing to do is something like this. Because I'll tell you, you and I are talking about this right now for two reasons. Number one, we're in that time of the year where there's nothing going on outside of ACC baseball, which, by the way, my boys are, they're looking good. They're looking great.
And my boys just got swept after sweeping your boys. So that's what I don't want to talk any baseball this week. Virginia just swept Miami.
But that's what I'm saying. We're in that time of the year. And then on top of that, it's still very fresh. We are still fresh off the heels of former ESPN guy Pablo Torre reporting on he met her when she was 19. He's at the Miss Maine pageant. He's all this good stuff. The more he just keeps her out of the spotlight and keeps her in the traditional framework of what a partner does or is, because Mario Cristobal's wife, I'm sure, is a lovely woman. I'm sure she's an amazing woman. She is not getting CC'd on his emails. She is not, there is no misgivings.
You're right. I've been covering Cristobal for his entire, tenure in Miami. And I know he's got a lovely wife, Jessica Cristobal. I've never seen her in person, Kenton. Like, I've seen her turn up in a few photographs. I've never seen her in person. So that's just the way he handles it. His first wife is football.
And that's a little far. That's a little far. Sure, Jessica is still his first wife. But you get the point, though. You get the point that at the end of the day, there is not a situation where she is so everywhere. She is so out there. It's like, well, damn, who's really running operations? When I played for Dorn, there was never any thoughts about, oh, man, is Mrs. Dorn running the facility? We saw her around from time to time. But again, there was not this overbearing thing. And again, the thing that both of our coaches had with their wives, there is no ridiculous age gap to speculate about. Because in this year of 2025, you damn near got to pull out a relationship abacus to figure out what age groups are acceptable to date each other and whatnot. But it's definitely a situation where, again, getting her away from your business, separating business and pleasure is the ideal situation, especially if that pleasure is 1/3 of your age, especially that. If you met her when she was under 1/3 of your age, that definitely was a time where Bill should have had the wherewithal to begin with. And again, I am proud of Jordan, or I hope that Jordan has been actively involved in saying, you know what, I need to take a step out of the spotlight now, because again, this is a situation where we shouldn't even be talking about the new PR guy, but he's here. Keep it going, Bill. Keep that young lady out of the spotlight and keep your personal life rolling.
Yeah, so that's the news. Bill Belichick has his new personal PR representative. As this was first reported, I believe, from ProFootballTalk.com, that this was in the works. That, I guess it turns out Jordan Hudson was like, she was the fill-in. She was like the stopgap before Belichick found his full-time person. At least that's the tale that they'll want to tell on this one. But Brandon Faber is Bill Belichick's new personal PR rep, and he's funny, Kenton. His resume of working high-level PR is actually longer than Jordan Hudson's lifespan. So for the past 25 years, Brandon Faber has been doing PR work for various professional teams in Chicago. He's done PR for the Bulls, the Bears, and the Blackhawks in Chicago. So he's bringing that experience to Bill Belichick's life, and that's who Belichick showed up with. And I got to admit, a part of me thought Bill might just bring Jordan Hudson anyway, just so he can say, like, I'm not going to give Pablo Torre the satisfaction of like changing the way that I live my life. But at the end of the day, your points were on point, Kenton, because if Belichick actually cares about the work that he's doing in Chapel Hill, you want to minimize those distractions as much as possible. So he is the bigger man than just to keep bringing her around to piss off Pablo Torre. Like, Belichick I think he made the right move, finding a different PR rep and letting Jordan do something else this week.
I will tell you this, Donno. You said she was the stopgap until Faber came in. She was almost the most expensive stopgap in the history of PR. Almost cost a $10 million contract. I believe that's how much it is with him, or $8 million or whatever it is.
Oh, I think it's 10. Yeah.
A multi-million-dollar contract almost got yeetus by this one moment, or not one moment, but this series of unfortunate events that's not Lemony Snicket style. That almost happened here. So, I'm sorry, but I would hope that all of us would have the wherewithal to not let our pettiness get in the way of 8 figures. I would hope that every person listening to this knows, hey, there are moments where I'm going to beat my chest and I'm going to say, I'm the big man, I'm the big woman, I'm the big kid, whoever. I'm the big kahuna here. There are moments where you need to say that. When there are 8 figures on the line, you better put that chest in a little bit. You better get quiet as a church mouse. But hey, we don't need to do all this. We good folks. We good folks. We don't need to argue.
So, something else. So the ACC spring meetings are happening in Amelia Island. It's near Jacksonville in Florida. And Charlie Baker, the NCAA president, addressed the contingent there. Second year in a row he's done that. It's ramped up a little bit more this year, like as the House settlement is really close to passing. Now, something, Kenton, I feel like the way that the House settlement is getting covered by certain media outlets, I know everyone, including us, are in the business of generating clicks and generating drama, right? That's how anyone in the media profession, digital media, it's part of the game, right? Because I see so many articles being written about how, Judge Claudia Wilkin, she's got all these reservations about, she seems really ticked off about how they're just going to basically take the roster spot away from like every walk-on in America, and thousands of student athletes are going to lose their spots on their teams or have already lost their spots on their teams. And she had her, according to frontofficesports.com, like all 3 of the lawyers that she recommended who are not involved in the case to look at it, they all filed objections and they don't like the solution for this roster spot thing. She wants these players to have their roster spots grandfathered in. But like the way it's being written about is if they don't satisfy the judge's demands, like she's not going to allow the settlement to pass. But then if you look at the way the NCAA is operating, it's like it's a foregone conclusion that this thing is going to pass. So, and again, like it's the judge's discretion whether she's going to let it pass or not. But I feel like there's been so much work put behind the scenes that she's going to pass it either way. I mean, she's trying to strong arm some reforms into it, but the lawyers for the House settlement don't really seem that concerned about how she feels about the roster limits. It's my opinion, right? If you look at the way business is being done here.
I agree with you, Donno. This is not an if it passes. That's the one thing I disagree with you about. If this passes and it's at her discretion, I wholly disagree with that. She can turn this down all she wants. Guess what's going to happen? It's just going to go to a higher court. It's just going to go to a higher court. And at this point in time, we are at the point in this ball game where we all know what's coming. We all know, like you said, business is being conducted by all sides as if this were an inevitability. And whenever you see that in a legal proceeding, whenever you see people moving as if a thing is an inevitability in a court case, the judge is just there for parliamentary procedure. That's what we're looking at here. So the judge can, hey, whatever you guys agree to, work it out, sure, fine. Or she can wholeheartedly say, oh, no, who's going to think about the poor walk-ons? And that's no disrespect to walk-ons. There were plenty of fantastic walk-ons when I played at NC State and whatnot. And I some of those guys I'm still good friends with to this day. Mm-hmm. I am, at the end of the day, the amount of money that is being held up here, people don't give a damn about a walk-on, a scholarship player, a coach, anybody could get it. Any group could be sacrificed for this amount of money. And you're talking about the players that are already on the fringe of existing in this sport? Right. At the end of the day, this is a thing that is not a matter of if it gets passed. It's just when and by what judge. Because this judge can turn it down. It'll get appealed. Both sides will say, we agreed, and that new judge will approve it.
Yeah, so I guess what would happen here, if she were to reject the settlement altogether, it would send the case to trial. So it wouldn't be over. It wouldn't be over if she were to reject it, but I don't think she's even going to reject it. So something I found this to be interesting. I want Kenton to help me out with this because he played college football at NC State. Dabo Sweeney is in favor of a radical change to the college football calendar. Does this make sense? You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. So Kenton, Gibbs, one of the ideas that's being talked about, and I think this was something discussed with Charlie Baker, because I think this change would have to happen at the NCAA level, not just at the ACC level. One of the topics, this is from ClemsonInsider.com, one of the topics football coaches are discussing this year is the possibility of expanding the spring practice calendar. Currently, the NCAA allows schools to have 15 spring practices between the months of February and mid-April. What the ACC coaches plan on discussing is adding 5 days. I think that means 5 extra practices. So to go from 15 to 20, and then maybe using those extra 5 days anytime they want to. Dabo Sweeney says, I'm a big component of opening it up from February to July. You get whatever, like 20 days, Sweeney said, and everybody can use them however you want to because everybody is different, right? So like you would have 20 practices, but you could spread those practices out at some point between February and July. Now, most programs begin their training camp, their fall practices at the end of July. So maybe you could go from, hey, spring practice is over, report tomorrow for fall training camp. I mean, what do you think about this calendar idea?
Absolutely horrendous idea. This is a way to extend out spring ball and all that, and exercise even more control over the players, which, by the way, doesn't even exist in the NFL. In the NFL, you have designated definite, like, hey, this ain't a matter of if you want to or how you want to do it. Because some people would argue, the coaches are still going to jam-pack the practices together. It's just going to be at the beginning or at the end, and the other time will be a down period. Yeah. I know enough about college coaches to know if you give them that much leeway, that much ambiguity, somebody is going to be the first person to say, well, wait a minute. We don't necessarily need to practice per se all of these days. We could just do walkthroughs that are not officially practice. Or we could do PRPs. Do you know what PRPs are, Donno?
Not in that context. I know platelet-rich plasma, but I don't think that's what you're talking about.
Well, in the vein of self-regulation, player run practices.
Oh,
Okay.
yes. Yes.
And
I didn't know the abbreviation.
when you have a player run practice, it technically does not count because coaches
Yeah.
are not out
Right.
there. The only
Right.
problem with that is during player run practices, I have heard of, not seen firsthand, of course, playing at Cass Tech, you see guys from all types of schools, all types of conferences, all types of things. I've heard of guys receiving a script from the coaches. These are the things you all need to work on. This is what you need to hit, how you need to hit it. This will be recorded. We will talk about this during the next meeting.
Yeah.
So it's somebody is going to be the first person to try to push out the limits and basically keep these young men practicing all the way from February up through July. And again, it's too much, man.
Yeah.
It's too much. Yes, I understand that this is now professionalized and all that. Sure. It was professionalized before when you had 15. I'm not mad at even extending out 5 extra practices, but there needs to be a finite defined window. Because at the end of the day, these young men need time for their bodies to recover and say, all right, now I'm just getting stronger. I'm just lifting. I'm just running. I'm just becoming more explosive without every other day having boom, 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 boom. I'm being hit. I'm having my body be worn down at the same time. So, this to me, I partially agree with the idea, but I wholly hate the idea of leaving the window open for the entire offseason, basically. Stop it.
Right. I mean, I guess one of the advantages to the idea would be if you can do some or most of your spring practices like after April or even into May. I mean, for Dabo could go into July, then, you get your spring transfers in who don't normally get spring practices. So it's like, hey, if we got a bunch of transfers in April and May, they can actually practice with us before training camp. I get that, but there are other ways to address that. I mean, you could move the transfer portal to a different time. You could eliminate, as we've discussed before, maybe you get rid of the spring transfer portal window altogether and just extend the winter one. So I feel like there are other ways to get around that than, because I was a little alarmed by the idea of like adding in 5 extra practices, because I thought, with the reason why the NFL, why they limit practices is theoretically in the interest of player safety, that, hey, the less official practices you have, the less risk you have of injury or cumulative injuries. So, if they were to add 5 more spring football practices, I would think there would have to come some guarantee of lessening the load on the PRPs, the player run practices. But then how do you do that without a union? And they made it very clear college athletes are not and will never be employees, so they cannot unionize. So, you have to look out for their interests. And I know, listen, football by nature is a physical game, violent game, and the players that succeed are the ones who tend to put in the extra work anyway. But still, I would have my reservations, like you said, about giving your coaches that much more control over your life and your yearly calendar when you're not even considered an employee to do that.
I'm going to tell you this, Donno. You say, football players would never be considered unions and or never be considered employees and get a union and all that. Remember, there was a time we said college football players will never get paid. And now look, we've got NIL and revenue sharing. So never say never. I think that what we're coming to within the next 5 years or so, I believe that we'll see players sitting down to unionize, because again, this thing, as far as we're looking at with revenue share and NIL and all that, it benefits the majority. If we are talking about, where our hearts go out to the walk-ons, it benefits them as well. It benefits the massive bulk to sit down and have a more uniform situation. Because if you are a walk-on, you're still paying to go to school. You're going to leave school with the same injuries that all of the players who are on scholarship have, and you're not going to have, and you're going to have the student loan debt on top of it. Yikes, brother. Yikes. So I think that we are headed towards a situation of unionization. If I was a player right now, I would be pushing for it. I'd be saying, hey, we kind of have to do this. Or if I was a guy that was going out the door and I knew, like, hey, I'm not trying to learn Hertz rental car right now. I don't want to have to pick up the enterprise rental car regional sales manual at the moment. I would be saying, hey, guys, y'all know me. Y'all trust me. I play with y'all. I think that, I can help you all set up the groundwork for unionization or whatever the case may be.
Oh, I appreciate Kenton's time as always. We appreciate everyone for making Locked On ACC your first listen today. Make sure you check out our other shows. Kenton and Grayson do an awesome job on Locked On Wolfpack. I host Locked On Canes. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow on another episode of Locked On ACC, part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Y'all go chase a bag like Big Cantwell.